All right, I think we're ready for questions. Let me begin by asking Mr. Wallace-Wells a question. If we do not act and act extremely aggressively, tell us what the future of our country and planet will look like.
Well, the answer to that question is covered with several layers of uncertainty. So if we decarbonize rapidly, the climate system may still prove more sensitive than we expect, which could bring more warming than we would like. But taking as a sort of a baseline that our best models are good indications of where the climate is heading, we are globally, it's been estimated by some of the best people studying this, on track for about 3 degrees of warming. That means that we have a long way to go to get to 2 degrees and below 2 degrees, which is what the scientific community and—
David, to the average person, 3 degrees, so what? What's the problem? It's a little bit warmer. What's the impact in our country and around the world? What does 3 degrees mean?
Well, we could see war doubling. We could see crop yields falling by at least 20%, maybe 50%. We could see migration in the tens of millions. We could see cities all across South Asia become so hot that you couldn't walk around outside without risking death. As a result, you'd see huge, huge mass migrations. The effect on economic productivity, even in the northern latitudes, places like the U.S., would be quite dramatic. There'd be extreme weather hitting, events that used to hit every 50 years, every 100 years, hitting every single year, and the number of billion-dollar disasters that would be accumulating even in places like the United States would be quite intense. Those impacts are all going to hit parts of the world, and then within individual countries, hitting parts of those countries, hitting those people hardest who are least able to respond, hitting the poorest, the marginalized, and really straining our ability to promise a future of prosperity and justice and equity to future generations,
Okay, thank you very much. Dr. Litterman, as you know, Wall Street is continuing to invest hundreds of billions of dollars in the fossil fuel industry. Why are they continuing these investments despite the costs laid out by Mr. Wallace-Wells and Professor Stiglitz?
Yeah, the problem is that those costs are not internalized. These are external costs. And so what businesses do, what investors do, is they look for opportunities to make profits given the incentives that they have. The problem is we have a bug in the tax code. We're not creating the appropriate incentives to reduce emissions. And this problem is a problem that needs to be identified. It needs to be addressed by Congress. When I chaired the CFTC Climate-Related Market Risk Subcommittee, we had unanimous agreement that the most important and most urgent recommendation 1 out of 53 that we made, is that we put a price on carbon. And that's because all the participants in the financial markets understand how efficient they are at moving capital to where there's opportunities to make money. That's what we do. And it's given the incentives that we have. We have the wrong incentives. This is actually very simple to fix. You have to give the private sector the appropriate incentives to reduce emissions, and then they'll all be moving in the right direction. Right now, we're all moving in the wrong direction because we have the wrong incentives.
Okay, thanks very much. Dr. Stiglitz, economics has been thought of as the dismal science, and we're doing a lot of dismal discussion today. But there is, I think, some positive aspects about transforming our energy system. Can you talk about what moving aggressively in moving away from fossil fuel to energy efficiency and sustainable energy would mean in terms of our economy and the creation of good jobs?
Very much. I wanted to emphasize that it actually is a real opportunity to transform our economy, create enormous value. One of the issues is that, and it was emphasized by other people in this hearing, that if you have more efficient buildings, you save over the long term enormous amount of money. And that's resources that can go to other uses. The cars that are electric last a long time. And at the same time, for the next 10, 15 years, we're going to be creating an enormous number of jobs as we create the green infrastructure that we need. And we're also going to have jobs at a higher level where we're creating the R&D. And as we create that R&D, it also emphasized that our ability to export the new technologies to make this a global effort to reduce carbon emissions will earn us a lot of money. So not only, this is one of those areas where we're going to be doing well by doing good. If we can create these new technologies, there's going to be a strong global demand for these technologies, and next plays to our long-term strength.
Thank you very much, Dr. Stiglitz. Senator Graham?